final step in dividing decimals is just dividing normally. And so if you don't want to divide the way I'm dividing and you have your own way to do it, that's totally fine. Then move on, and you don't have to watch me walk through these steps. However, if you do like to use my strategy, which is the Does McDonald's Sell Burger Raw strategy, then stick with me. Now, how I like to start my division problems is writing these letters on the side of my paper next to my problem, the MSBR, which stands for Does McDonald's Sell Burgers Raw? This helps me track where I'm at in my problem so I don't get lost with all the numbers that I'm adding. So I also like to erase any arrows or things that I drew in when I was trying to figure out where to move the decimal point that might confuse me. So like I erased the arrow under here. I erased the arrow that pointed that I moved this decimal point up here in my quotient. So first step is the D, which stands for divide. And I look at my first number and my dividend and my divisor, and I say 4 divided by 5. Or I'll ask myself the question, can 5 go into 4? And I know 5 is bigger than 4, so it can't. And right away I know I have to put a 0 above the 4. And then I know I can't just look at my first number in my dividend. So I have to look at the 4 and the 6, which is 46. And then I ask myself again, 46 divided by 5. Or I'll ask myself the question, can 5 go into 46? And I know it can. 5 can go into 46 9 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So I put my 9 up top in my quotient. Notice I put the 9 above the 6 and before the decimal point. That's super important so that you don't accidentally end up with a decimal point in the wrong part of your quotient, which would give you the wrong answer. And now I'm done with my division step. And I just put a check next to the D so I know I did that part. The next thing I do is go down to my M, which stands for multiply. And I know I have to multiply the number I just put up top in my quotient, the 9, times the 5, my divisor. And I know 9 times 5 equals 45. So I put it right down below the 46. And I check off M for multiply, because I'm done with that step. I then go down to my next step, which is an S, which stands for subtraction. And I know I have to subtract 46 minus 45. And I know 46 minus 45 is 1. And I can check off my subtraction step. I then move down to my B, which stands for bring down. Now, what I bring down is whatever number is left. So right now I only have one number left, and I bring down the 5. Even if I had more numbers on the side of the 5, I wouldn't bring them down. I only bring down one number at a time. So my 1 becomes a 15, and I'm done with my bring down step. My next step is my R, which is repeat or remainder. And this is the part where I have to ask myself the question, do I repeat or am I done and I just have a remainder? And the question I always ask myself is this number bigger than my divisor? Because if this number is bigger than my divisor, then I repeat. If it's smaller than my divisor, then it's probably a remainder and I'm done dividing. But I know that this number is bigger than my divisor, which means 5 can go into 15. And I know 5 can go into 15 3 times. So now I'm done with my repeat or remainder. And I know that 5 can go into 15 3 times. That's my division step. And I put my 3 up top in my quotient. And I do it right above the 5. And if you notice, it's right after the decimal point. I didn't put it before because that would have been above the 6. I have to make sure I'm lining up these numbers the same way so that the decimal point ends up in the correct part of the quotient so I get the correct answer. I now have to do my next step, which is multiply. And I know I have to multiply the number I just put up into my quotient, the 3, times my divisor. So I take 3 times 5, and I know that equals 15. And I put it right down here. And and check off my multiplication step. I then move down to S, subtract, and I subtract 15 minus 15, which I know if you take away 15 from 15, it equals 0. And I am done with the subtraction step. I then go down to my B, which is bring down, and I notice I don't have any other numbers to bring down, so I can actually just check that step off. And then I go down to repeat or remainder, and I ask myself that question again. Is this number bigger than my divisor? No, it's smaller. So I know that I'm done. That 0 would be my remainder, or I don't have to put anything up there because it's 0. There's nothing left over. And so I'm done with my problem. And my answer is 9.3 or 9 3/10.